I can't even anymore. This episode is garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage. You have 7 years to figure this out. This is inexcusable. I can't. I went back and watched episode 1, 2, and 3 again because I was like, I watched episode 4 and I thought to myself, am I being too critical? So I went back and watched the other 3. I was being too fucking nice. Episode 1, garbage. Episode 2, worse. Episode 3, slightly better. And then episode 4 is by far the worst episode of this show, and arguably some of the worst Star Wars content that I've ever seen. Certainly since the prequels, the sequels. The sequels are laughably horrible and should never be spoken of again. But this is close. And I'm trying to find something that I can use to redeem this episode, and I can't find a single fucking thing. I just can't. I'm trying really, really hard, and I would be really curious to hear your thoughts in the comments of like, what did you like about this episode? Is there something that I'm missing? Because this episode just pissed me off. It disappointed me, and it just solidified what I had already suspected, which was that they didn't give a fuck about these characters or the show or the story when they wrote it. And it solidified that in my brain. So I'm going to go back. I'm rehashing my verdicts on these other 3 prior to talking about episode 4. I give episode 1 a 6 out of 10. I give episode 2 a 5 out of 10. I give episode 3 a strong 6 out of 10, not quite a 7. This episode is a 3 out of 10. This episode is well below average TV, which is pathetic. The budget, the actors, the franchise, there's no reason this episode should be a 3 out of 10. There's no reason any of these episodes should be this on the list. I would rather watch Boba Fett again than watch this episode. And Boba Fett was horrible. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Okay, we got to talk about it. So let's get into it. I'm going to try really hard to be fair here. And I feel like I've been more than fair in all of my reviews of the show. In fact, I feel like I've been unfair on leaning the other way, that I've given them too much leniency, too much leeway, too much rope. And this is just an episode that I got to reel it back in, because this is inexcusably horrible. This is so bad. I'm running out of adjectives here. Okay, so we start off don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. It also helps with the YouTube gods out there in the algorithm. So we start off with Obi-Wan being thrown in a bacta tank for his wounds from Darth Vader. Now, what I had suspected at the end of episode 3 was that they just wrote themselves into a corner and they didn't know how to write it in a way to justify Obi-Wan escaping such a cumbersome situation that he was in, because Obi-Wan had him by the balls. And I was hoping that Darth Vader was tactical away so that he could follow them to a rebel base, or follow them to where they're hiding, or there's this kind of underlying theme of the Underground Railroad, kind of the path as they call it in Star Wars. So maybe he's trying to hunt down all the different planets and systems that path goes through to smuggle Jedi around. So I was under the impression that I was hoping that it was a tactical move or a tactician move. I was hoping that it was for a purpose. Nope. It was exactly what I figured that Disney was going to do. They just didn't know how to fucking end the episode. And so Darth Vader's barely in this episode. He's got no plan. He's got no excuse as to how or why Obi-Wan escaped. He just escaped. It took the robot 5 minutes to get him out of there, but Darth Vader just stood there and watched him escape because he's a fucking moron in this show. Okay. So they decide to go rescue Leia, who's being captured and held hostage at the water base that we saw at the beginning of episode 1, I think. And this episode is really just a snippet. It's just a snippet of Luke Skywalker saving Leia in episode 4, drawn out for 38 minutes. That's all it is. And episode 4 did it 1,000 times better because this is so poorly shot. It's so poorly directed. The CGI is laughable. Like prequel trilogy CGI is better than this. I'd rather watch episode 2 CGI than watch this episode. So they go to the base, and their plan is to infiltrate by pretending to be the Imperial officer. So Tala goes in as the Imperial officer, and I buy the first interaction where the guy's like, "Hey, you're on the wrong planet, lady. What are you even doing here?" And she's like, "I'm your commanding officer. Who are you to question me?" Blah blah blah. I buy that. I buy that enough, and then it just goes to shit. She goes to this operating room where there's other Imperial officers sitting 4 feet from her, and she's got her microphone, and she's like, "Okay, it's time to sneak into the base. I'm gonna open up this door hanger thing under the water so you can swim in, Obi-Wan. Are you ready?" And the guy looks and he's like, "What?" And she's like, "Don't worry about it." I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Who wrote this? Who said in the writing room, "Hey, we should just blurt out all of our plan right next to this bad guy, and let's just not have him do anything about it"? Who wrote this? What incompetent... You don't even have to be a Star Wars fan to know that this is horrible writing. Horrible writing. So Obi-Wan sneaks into the base, and he encounters a stormtrooper. If you're sneaking into a base, and the base is filled with people that wear armor that covers their face, what's the first thing that you should do? Exactly what Luke does. Put some fucking armor on. No, Obi-Wan just knocks out the stormtrooper and just walks right in his Jedi robes. No stealth. No sense of competency. No sense that he's been around war for 20 years and should know how to infiltrate a base. I mean, he's done it in the Clone Wars. He's infiltrated 1,000 bases. Heck, in the Clone Wars, he even took a serum to make himself look like a bad guy, physically transform himself into a bounty hunter so that he could go undercover. And he doesn't have the smarts to just wear some fucking armor. Okay. I gotta settle down. I gotta settle down. Oh, Luke did it way better. It was shot better in episode 4. This episode was done better in 10 minutes 40 years ago. Longer than that. It's been 50 years? 50 years ago. That's how bad this is. Oh, okay, so Reva, I don't give a shit what her name is. Her acting's back to being garbage in this too. She had one decent episode last episode. And I can't really blame the 9-year-old actor for her bad acting chops in this either, because the writing's so fucking terrible. But Reva is interrogating Leia, wanting to know the details about the path. And I don't even know how Reva even caught up to Leia to begin with at the end of the third fucking episode, but she's sitting here and she uses her Jedi mind trick, right, to read people's minds, which she's done once so far. And she can't do it because we're doing the Rey and Kylo Ren scene from episode 7 with Leia and Reva. It's the same fucking scene. It's the same scene. I get that George Lucas wanted these episodes to wanted Star Wars to rhyme, right? Like episodes 3 rhymes with episode 6, right? And so there's that sense of rhyming throughout all the major film trilogies. But you don't just rehash scenes. That's not rhyming. That's just lazy writing, lazy research, and a lack of care for the source material. And so it's just the episode 7 Rey versus Kylo Ren mind reading scene. Leia's just young, so she just says, "Is this a staring contest? What are you doing?" Because she's too powerful for Reva, which pisses Reva off. So she's like, "Now I'm going to torture you," which is exactly what they do in episode 4. Leia doesn't give up what she wants to Darth Vader, so Darth Vader takes her into her cell and then tortures her to try to get the information that he wants. And I'm just so tired of seeing the same shit reshot. And so instead of following through, and you can see where this show is going to with Reva, you can see that she's conflicted because she knows she needs to torture Leia, but she doesn't want to torture Leia. She's like, "You did this to me. All you got to do is tell me." And she's got this facial expression of torment or feeling torn or conflicted. You can tell that they're going to turn her into a good person at the end of this show, which we all fucking knew anyway. But instead of just seeing it through, she stops to go talk to some underling, right? Because they need to make a distraction, and they need to get Obi-Wan to be able to have the ability to rescue Leia. And so they make a distraction. So, Reva goes up to talk with Tala, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, since the only way in or out was in the same way that Obi-Wan was going, but they didn't cross paths at all. So how did Obi-Wan get down there without seeing Reva whatsoever? It doesn't make it. Only one way to the interrogation room. That means there's only one way out of the interrogation. Cross path. Nope. She just ends up upstairs and he just ends up in the room, right? And you see this tomb basically. So Obi-Wan sees that it's not just a fortress, it's a tomb. So the Inquisitors don't always kill the Jedi that they catch. They torture them and then they encase them in ants, I guess, like a dinosaur or something. And one of them is a little kid. It's a youngling. Why would you and then turn around with this youngling? Why would you have no problems killing that youngling, but then all of a sudden have problems killing this one? And so Obi-Wan enters the room with Leia, turns the lights off, kills the first stormtrooper, and I don't know who wrote this line, but he was like, "Stand where you are," the other stormtrooper. There's only 2 stormtroopers, the only hostage that you have right now that's so critical to your mission, and you guard them with 2 stormtroopers. Whatever. So there's 2 stormtroopers. Obi-Wan cuts down the first one. The other stormtrooper says some ridiculous line that doesn't make any goddamn sense. And the reason why it doesn't make any sense is because you were recruited into the Imperial Army to hunt down Jedi, and you probably have never seen a Jedi in your entire fucking life, and the only thing you have to go off of is exactly what the Empire tells you, that they're evil, they're killers, and they're the enemy. And you just saw your buddy get killed in a room that you can't escape from by a Jedi, and that's the line you say? Stand where you are. I call absolute bullshit. That stormtrooper should be scared out of his fucking mind. So Obi-Wan kills him, and then they try to escape. But we know how this ends. We know that Leia lives. We know that Obi-Wan lives. And they're doing a filler episode in the 4th episode. There's 6 episodes in the show. Why are you doing a filler episode 4 episodes in? Why do you have any filler episodes at all in this series? You have the easiest job in the world with this. There's no stakes in shows like this when you already know how the story ends for these characters. How you create stakes is through emotional conflict between the people that really matter most. It's the emotional conflict between Obi-Wan and himself and Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Not Reva, not Leia, not Leia and Reva, not Tala. It's got nothing to do with that. If you wanted to divert and come up with a more creative, divert expectations kind of approach, then make it all about the path. Have Obi-Wan come to the realization that he needs to do something about saving these young children who are being hunted down and killed just because they have force powers, and have him help people get from world to world and go through the path to freedom, and have Vader chasing Obi-Wan for that. That would work in a sense, and that would be an interesting story to tell. But this is just not interesting. I'm not interested in a filler episode that rehashes what I already saw 50 years ago that was done better then, and then to throw in nonsensical lines that make no sense, poor CGI, poor cinematography, poor writing, poor directing. Deborah Chow, hands down, was the worst person you could have picked for this fucking show. So Obi-Wan and Leia are trying to escape. And they get into this corridor where they're cut off both ways. Now, there's no cover, really. I mean, Leia's small enough that she can kind of hide behind a pillar. But Obi-Wan, has to go into lightsaber mode, and he starts getting his groove back, right? He starts getting his stance going, and he's staying in guard, and he's doing unnecessary twirls like you see in the sequels, which really, because the laser beams from each blaster are fake. When he does a twirl that doesn't make any sense, they have to line up a blaster fire. They have to line up blaster fire that goes where the lightsaber goes. But it doesn't make any sense for him to block a bullet like this that's already going to miss you anyways. And so if you go back and watch the part where a bullet gets ricocheted off the lightsaber, blaster fire gets ricocheted off the lightsaber and then hits the glass. The the blaster fire that does that is not something that he blocks that's into the glass anyways, but it wasn't on purpose. It'd be one thing if it was off to the side and he's like, oh, this is my plan to get out. But that's just more plot armor of like, we need to get Obi-Wan out of this situation. What's the easiest way we can get him out of this? Well, he's underwater, just have the glass break. But you're underwater. Like, why is this base not built out of waterproof or like water resistant glass though? Why is this base built off of just glass break from blaster fire? Shouldn't you have built it out of glass that can't be broken from blaster fire? It's underwater. You know that all of the people that you walk around with have blasters. Shouldn't you make it so that blasters can't totally ruin your fucking base? Just a thought. So, man, We're not even to the worst of it yet, guys, because this gets worse. And it's not even the stroke the camel's back, because that already happened. This is just like insult to injury here. We get the whole you're on a base of those stormtroopers with 3 Inquisitors and a cap and a trench coat that you've never seen a single Imperial officer wear ever. Obi-Wan's wearing this trench coat, and it reminded me of the part in Space Jam, the good one, not the new one. They play basketball and they steal his talent, and the woman next to him is like, there's something really weird going on with this raincoat. And they're like sucking the talent off of Charles Barkley by sitting in the raincoat. That's what this reminded me of, because Obi-Wan Kenobi, giant leg tumor. And I don't know if it's code or regulation or if just nobody does it, but all males in the Imperial Army, they're all clean shaven. There's not a single Imperial officer or just anybody in the Imperial Army that has a beard. Obi-Wan has a beard. If you're in a room full of people that are all clean shaven because you know you have to be, and then you watch somebody walk into the room with a giant ass beard, are you going to question whether or not they're really part of the Imperial Army? Probably, but not these guys. He just walks on by, and then they walk right by the Inquisitors. The Inquisitors and Obi-Wan literally go 3 feet away from each other. You deserve to lose at that point because you're a fucking moron. And then Reva shows up and he's like, you traitor. And then everybody miraculously notices that, that they're undercover and they were trying to sneak off base. I don't know what happened to the Inquisitors. So Reva's there. The other Inquisitors were right there. But then they are nowhere to be found. Did they like magically go up 3 stories out of nowhere? They should only be like 50 yards away, but they're nowhere. And then the 6th brother shows up 2 minutes later. So he must have been on the platform, but where was he? He wasn't in the shot. And so that didn't make any sense. And so they're pretty much screwed, right? They are outnumbered 1,000 to 1, and out of nowhere, 2 T-47s, is type of ship, show up and somehow kill like 200 people on the base in the matter of seconds. And because it's the plot armor that Obi-Wan needs in order to the base, because he's so outnumbered that they need to get rid of them all. And then you see some shots later and they're not even on the floor. Like they didn't have they didn't have the spatial awareness when they were directing this thing to say, hey, don't move until we're done with this whole scene. Otherwise it's going to look weird that you just died and then your body's gone times 100. And somehow they take out every single person except Reva on this base. And all of the stormtroopers are missing at point blank range. We're talking 15 feet away and missing by 5 feet to the left or to the right. Like, I get that the stormtroopers are supposed to be incompetent and not very good shots, but this is embarrassing. Like, this is really bad. Like, if you are 10 feet from someone, like from me to the door behind me, and you missed me by 5 feet, and you're supposed to be trained with the weapon you're using, it's just bad writing, bad cinematography, and bad directing. And the last piece of this, I'm almost done, guys. I promise. We got 2 more things to cover here. They get off base by hopping in one of the starfighters, hopping in one of the T-47s. I think that name of the ship. What's this? You're on a base with TIE fighters, hundreds of TIE fighters. Where are all the TIE fighters? Where are all the pilots? Where is anybody? when the whole base went on lockdown, what's the protocol? I mean, people are just walking around lazily. Shouldn't they be putting everything on lockdown, not just walking around with no purpose, no direction? Where are all the pilots? Shouldn't they be in the TIE fighters ready to go? And when the T-47 show up, shouldn't they launch a counterattack? Nope, they just let them go. No consequences, no follow-up, no chase, nothing. I guess all the pilots were in the bathroom because they were fucking useless in this. The CGI in this whole shot was so bad too. Reva somehow was blocking T-47 blaster fire, which you can't do. You can't. A lightsaber can only block so much. If somebody is sitting there in a plane and riddling you with bullets, you doing this isn't blocking every single one of them. So the fight choreography was bad in this too. And then the last piece, guys, I promise, as I said, Darth Vader shows up, and he's just such a fucking pussy in this show, man. The real Darth Vader, the Darth Vader that I know, would kill you for less. He killed one of the admirals in episode 5 just for coming out of Lightspeed too quickly. You're telling me that that same Darth Vader wouldn't kill you if you accidentally let your hostage go? And Obi-Wan Kenobi, who he's been chasing for 10 years? Nope. He's just a pushover, and he's an idiot in this episode. Perhaps I underestimated you, third sister. Just because she put a tracking device on Leia using her droid, Darth Vader would kill you for less. He would say, "Thank you very much. I'll take it from here," and then he would snap her neck. But because it's Reva and they have to use her as a redemption arc at the end of this show, they can't kill her, even though they know that they should, because they've written themselves into a corner and they don't know what to do with any of the characters because they didn't think this show through. Even though they had so much fucking time to do it, they just wanted to toss a bunch of fan service for a bunch of people that just want to see ideology thrown into everything that they have in entertainment rather than telling good stories. I have no problem with Moses as an actress. I'm sure she's good in things, but it's not this show. It's not her fault because they're not giving her good writing, but I'm not going to stand here and just say, don't be mad at Moses for what's going on with her character at all, because she has her own part to play in this. I'm not going to shit on people for doing the best that they can with the material that they can, or with the material that they have, but you also have your own part to play. And if you are reading this script and you're like, why am I giving these lines? You have a chain of command. Now, if you get overturned, there's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is act those scenes out the best that you possibly can. But I don't even believe the acting that she's giving me. And I know that she's better than this because I've watched some other stuff that she's in. But I don't believe anything that's coming out. He carried the show as far as he could. But this show is not getting better. It's getting way worse. And I just don't have good hopes for this. I just don't. They ruined Boba Fett, and they turned him into a little bitch that doesn't know what to do with his life, rather than being the badass that he's supposed to be. And the actor who plays Boba Fett even said that in an interview like 5 days ago, and that he wants to go back to the badass Boba Fett that everybody wants. So he wants another season just so he can fix it, because he's so upset that they fucked it up. They're doing that with Obi-Wan. They're making him more and more incompetent. They're doing that with Darth Vader. They're making him more and more incompetent, more and more of a pushover, just to shove in characters that I don't care about. Give them their own shows and make me care about them. Don't plug them into something that's supposed to be about this problem that people really want to see, some sort of resolution to, and just shove them in and then ruin that story. So this show is a 3 out of 10 for me, guys. This episode is not good. It's a rehash of episode 4. done way worse by a large margin. CGI is bad, the directing's bad, the acting's bad, the cinematography's bad, the fight choreography's bad, the writing's bad. This is well below average television. If you're watching the show because you love episode 3 and you love Ewan McGregor and you love Hayden Christensen and you're doing it to show respect that you're going to watch what they've created, go watch this episode. If you're not that type of person, save yourself the heartache. Do literally anything else with your hour. Literally, go dig a ditch. Do anything else with your hour. It's more productive than watching this episode because it's fucking horrible. So that was an angry rant. Guys, I don't like being negative. I really don't. I want to love this show. I want to love Reva as a character. They're just not giving her anything to work with. And the stuff they are giving her to work with, she's not executing very well. I want to literally love everything that Leia's producing in this show. And for a large part of episode 3, I really liked what that actress was doing. I don't like what she's doing in this episode. It's not good. It's not good. And it's not her fault. It's just bad writing. And it's bad directing. It's bad cinematography. It's bad CGI. It's bad decision making from the top to the bottom. And I'm disappointed in Deborah Chow because she should have caught all of these things. And it's just a lack of caring about the material. It's just lack of caring about the story. It's you wanting to tell your own story your own way with no sense of obligation to doing what's right to the established precedented material. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing. All right, guys, I'm clocking off. I'm going to go do something else with my day to try to cheer me up. Thanks for watching this. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. And you can check out more videos on my page right now. See you later.